Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Before we get into today's video, I just want to remind everybody to like, subscribe, and ring the bell if you're enjoying the content that I'm creating. Now this week, we're actually starting a new theme as we do on Mondays, and that is multiple vocalists. And we're going to be checking out a band we've actually had on here before. I think we're going to have a lot of very happy people because I still see comments on this video. It's probably one of my most viewed videos, I think, at least judging by how often I get comments on it. We're going to be looking at Yes again. Yes, the band. And this one is called Perpetual Change. And it was the most highly voted track for the theme. And I'm excited to get into it. I enjoyed Yes when we checked them out last time. And I've heard good things about this one in the Patreon comments about this song in particular. This is going to be the 2008 remaster. There is also a 2003 remix. And I had a real difficult time tracking down an official source for the original 73 version. 71. Yeah, I had a difficult time tracking that one down. So my choices were either the 03 remix or the 08 remaster. And we've actually had good luck with remasters with some of these older prog bands. So I went the remaster. I know it's not everybody's favorite choice. And I'm sure there's going to be some comments about how this sounds terrible compared to the original. But that's why we're going to be doing the remaster on today's. So let's dig into this and see what Yes have in store for us today. Yeah, so that intro is just a little funky. Ooh, yeah. Got a nice little bit of southernness to that guitar work.
I see the cold mist in the night and watch the hills roll out.
I love this sparseness right here. We got the bass in the backgrounds.
I watch in every single way, inside out, outside in, every day. The sun can warm the coldest dawn and move the movement.
Yeah, there's a real nice swinginess to this going on right here.
I learned in every single day, inside out, outside in, everywhere.
Yeah, some really cool drum ideas going on here. Yeah, so some really cool call and response between the lead and the choir. And just amazing dynamic work, both in volume and width.
As truth is gathered, I rearrange inside out, outside in, inside out, outside in.
Yeah, I love these build-ups. Yeah, you gotta keep an ear out for the bass. It's not all the time, but that bassist throws down some really nice licks. Yeah, how do they keep moving between rock and funk and swing so often? And then it all still feels like the same song. Here we go, back down to this pared down jazzy. Even got a walking bass line. So we've had some really nice transitions up until now, but that was a pretty stark one. What is with this left panning? Yeah, we have devolved into chaos. The song is perpetually changing, if you will. Now see, that was clean from taking the right hand music and then just shifting it throughout both sides and centering it. I haven't really been keeping track of time, but we're in 3 right now. And I'm pretty sure we've been in 4 before. Nothing that really stood out to me anyways. Almost a bit of a waltz feel. Yeah. I like how serious the song is, but there's still a lot of playfulness going on. Here's a spot to listen to the bass. Now, see, I dig that. I don't. I've talked before about how I'm not a big fan of fade outs that don't have any sort of thematic cohesion. I, like, I tend to enjoy fade outs about songs that are cyclical. If you're going to return to the beginnings, the intro basically, and then fade out, it kind of makes the song feel cyclical, so it fits thematically. So that's usually one of the areas where I enjoy a song that goes for that sort of for the fade out on the end. However, I enjoyed this one a little bit because it was a fade out of unique ideas, which also kind of makes me dislike it a little bit, to be honest. I do enjoy how it isn't just a single pattern, like a four bar phrase being repeated ad nauseum. There is basically it's fading out on a solo. However, that also kind of upsets me a little bit, even though I enjoy it for its uniqueness as far as fade outs that I've heard. But I also really wanted to listen to the solo, and it feels like the song got cut off more so than a repetitive four bar phrase fading out. So just a little bit of a personal bias there, in my opinion. I dig what they were going for there, but it really left me wanting more because I was really enjoying the solo. And that just unfortunately, I just didn't get to hear the end of it. um, so yeah, this song is perpetually changing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know where the lyrics fit in. Maybe it's just this overall cohesion between the music, the themes, the musical themes, the lyrical themes, and the title just kind of all gelling together about being change. And so that would be pretty cool. But even just on a musical level, the music works with what is going on in the title. It's called Perpetual Change. The song perpetually changes. I mentioned, golly, what did I mention? Swing, funk. I said we had some funkiness. It wasn't like full on funk, but I think it was one of their synthesizers or organs, whatever they were using, had a bit of like almost like an intro note on on some of their notes that they were playing, almost like a grace note going into it, and it gave it this funky edge. It's not like we ever entered into real funk. It was just all these little grace notes in those synth heavy parts. There's definitely some smooth jazz swinginess to some of the sparser areas. We have full on rock elements. Um, I mentioned another one. I don't remember what it is now. We also got the call and response with lead versus acquire, which is kind of theatric in the way that that was done. There's that pure chaos section in the middle. They just move through so many different ideas, concepts, genres, and it's fascinating to see them all tie everything together in a neat little bow. The only thing that really felt out of place for me was that chaotic section. The rest of the song really gelled together very well, and that one definitely came out of left field. It was different in tone, it was different in texture, it was different in composition style, and it was also aiming for a lot of dissonance rather than a lot more of the more harmonious elements we saw throughout the rest of the song. So I enjoyed that part on more of an artistic level. It was a little bit more experimental, and as I've mentioned in the past, I don't necessarily enjoy experimental music as a casual listener, but I really love hearing and seeing musicians push the boundaries of music on an artistic or critical level. Um, so I really like how that section exists within the concept of perpetual change, of modifying the song continuously throughout the track. It just didn't land too. It didn't land too well for me as far as a casual listen goes. But as I'm sure a lot of people are going to tell me, the more you listen to it, the less left field it gets, and that's just something that happens whenever you listen to anything that's a little more uh, disharmonious. That's not the word I want. That's what we're going to go with, though. Anything that's less palatable, it just takes time to sort of grow into understanding where that fits and how it fits, and maybe understanding that type of music, that type of section. It did remind me a little bit of stuff like Mars Volta would write, and I've heard a ton of this sort of idea in the Mars Volta tracks that we've listened in those comment sections, where I've spoken about how the more aggressive, more esoteric sections grind a bit on me because they're just so dissonant. And I've heard many people tell me that the more you listen to it, the more it begins to make sense. And I kind of figure that's what's going to happen here, where it's very alarming on a first listen, but maybe by the 10th or 100th listen, it really just seems to lock into place and it makes more sense. But as a first time listen, as a reaction, that's my opinion. I enjoy that section on an artistic level as sort of avant-garde appreciation, but it does feel out of place as far as casually listening to it. Even though there's a lot of disparate sections throughout, that's the one that feels the most out of place. Everything else just kind of ties together neatly. Um, the other thing that really sticks out to me is their dynamic work. They can go from loud to quiet, from thin to wide, from sparse to layered. It's just all over the place. They are trying everything, just kind of, throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks kind of writing. And obviously, there's more to it than that. I'm sure that a lot of intentionality went into writing this song, but that's what it sounds like because, you've listened to it with me. Every 32 bars, we're going somewhere new. So it's really cool. But like I said, the interesting thing is, even though we get all these different ideas, it all ties together so neatly. There is a core strand of DNA running through every part of this song that really makes it feel cohesive. And I don't know exactly what that is, being that there's so many different sections. And even within those sections, some of them are so densely layered that trying to figure out the exact, pinpoint that exact part that ties it all together is not going to be something I can do on a first listen. That's not to say it's not possible. It's just not a skill that not something that I could do. The song is it's a very dense song. There's a lot going on, and there's just no way I could have listened to every single strand that was going on. So yeah, this is Multiple Vocalist Week. I suppose we should talk about that for a little bit. I was a little, I don't want to say disappointed. I was expecting more of the multiple harmony or multiple vocalists. I think I was really looking for bands that have all the time multiple vocalists. I think that would be pretty cool. But, having this is kind of a wake up call. I don't think that's going to happen just because there's so few bands that really have full-time multiple vocalists, and I think this is more what we're going to get. So I'm kind of glad we started with this because it's going to help me get into the mind frame for the rest of the week. With that said, there was only one section that had multiple vocalists, and while it was repeated, it is one of the shorter sections in here. But I really enjoy the way that it was written. Like I said, it was a bit of a call and response, sort of lead character versus the choir. Reminds me of Greek tragedy kind of things, even though the choir never really speaks with the main character. But I mean, that's kind of the vibe I was getting, which is very cool. Like I said, it has this theatric edge to it, and really enjoyed that. Bass work, drum work, guitar work throughout. Just everybody's got mad chops here. I just absolutely loved it. And the cool thing was, I mentioned in the middle that the bass, not always doing crazy bassy things. Sometimes just holding down a bass line, sometimes just providing a pulse, but sometimes laying down some nasty bass lines. I was going to say drum lines. Laying down some nasty bass lines. And it's almost like an Easter egg hunt. Can you spot it? Are you looking for it? And I feel like I was always listening for the bass, trying to figure out when they were going to just throw down some tasty jams. And they did sometimes, and it was phenomenal. I loved like those little moments when you just hear like doo 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 boom boom, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I want more of that. And they're like, well, you're gonna have to wait for it, and you're gonna have to watch for it. I'm like, okay, I'm in for this game. We had a baseline Easter egg hunt. That's pretty cool. Um, I do wish the bass was just a little higher in the mix. I don't want to speak too much about the mix actually because this is a remaster, but I have to bring up the panning. The panning is huge. I'm going to wager it was a remaster decision. Um, I'm waiting to hear the comments about this one. But the two pieces of panning that really stood out to me was one during the single vocalist versus the choir and the back and forth. I really like how they were panned. They were so far apart. It wasn't just left and right. It was like all the way left versus all the way right. Nothing in the center. They felt so distant, and that was an interesting choice that really helped. Assuming that it helps the narrative in the story or some of the themes, it really puts a divide and some space between those two types of vocals. The other one was magic to my ears. It was during the chaotic part where it sounded like we had two songs going at once. And it actually threw me off because the right pan faded out and all we had was the left pan, and something new, the next section came in on the right side. And then eventually it washed over and took into center, and that washing over the bleeding into the left side had it almost sounded like bell chimes. You're hanging bell chimes, and you like you run your hand or a mallet across them, and they're all various lengths, and you get this really nice chimes. That's what I'm looking for, hanging chimes. And you get this really nice magical sound to it. I think I heard something like that, and it happened, and it just sounded like magic. It was awesome. Um, but I'm not sure it was great for the song. And again, I don't know if this was in the original or not. I don't know if, I mean, obviously the section was in the original, having the two musical ideas. One fades out, the new one fades in, and then the other old one is replaced with this one. And it's actually a really cool transition. It feels to me like the audio version of a visual wipe. If you've ever seen Star Wars, and George Lucas was huge for this, and you're in one scene, and then it transitions into the other one, and there's like this nice middle part where you're kind of seeing both images. That's called a wipe effect. And, well, technically that would be a horizontal wipe. But yeah, so that's kind of the wipe effect is kind of what I'm getting here, in that we're transitioning from one to the other and we are hearing both at the same time. Sort of like a crossfade, but a very lengthy crossfade done through panning. And it's really cool to think about. You don't just transition into the next one. And I don't actually know how you would do this easily live. Um, I'm sure there's ways, all sorts of, volume pedals and stuff like that, and there would be a ton of coordination to do. But it's really cool to sort of fade into this new idea. You have your old idea, you have your new idea, and they're sort of still going at the same time. Your new one fades in, your old one fades out. Very much like a crossfade, but like I said, it's harsher this way. It's not an even fade, and there is a moment in the middle where they're both going at the same time. It's a very cool transition idea. I'm just curious if the panning was done in the original, because the panning that's the magical part to me. The transition is very cool. I think it's an interesting way to do it. I don't know if the execution was well done here, especially since they were so different, two completely different ideas. But I also understand the fact that I believe they were going for some sort of chaotic effect, and it was one of the most dissonant, chaotic sections of the whole song. So, yeah, if their plan was to create something that was not palatable and chaotic and dissonant, the mission accomplished. They did it. Um, but yeah, so I think that's the most I want to talk about the mix and the engineering and the panning, because I don't know what pertains to the original and what was added in this one, but that was the panning is something that just really stuck out to me in those two sections. And I appreciate the attention to detail. So I wanted to bring that up. Yeah, overall, though, just another Yes song that I really enjoyed. Just some really great writing, phenomenal musicianship, and yeah, like I said, the only thing that really I didn't dig the chaotic part there in the middle, and then it ended on a fade out of a solo that I was getting invested in. I really wanted to hear more of that solo. Um, but yeah, they went through so many modes. It's just phenomenal that they could put all of this music into one package and it feel cohesive. I don't know how many times I can say that. I want to emphasize it one last time before we sign off here. That's really what stands out to me is how much music was put into here, and it doesn't feel at odds with any of the other music put in. But those are my thoughts on Yes's Perpetual Change. This is where you guys come in to let me know your thoughts. Drop some comments. Anything that you might agree with me with, disagree with me with, anything that you might have noticed that I didn't pick up on. Maybe the song bounced off you. Maybe you enjoyed every second of it and you want to give some love for it. Go ahead and drop some comments. Above that's a description box. You can check out the Twitter, the Patreon, the Discord. You can click those links and check out some stuff adjacent to the channel. Underneath that, like, subscribe, ring the bell. I don't know why I'm doing that because I don't want you to dislike. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, with another track with multiple vocalists. I'm looking forward to more of this stuff. Until next time, though, remember to be critical and not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.